I had a lifelong goal of giving a TED Talk. That's been it for me for as long as I can remember. Since the first TED Talk I saw, I always envisioned myself on that stage, and I wanted to give one.
Welcome to Profession Session. I'm your host, Brody Vinson, and in this show, I interview young professionals of all types, whether it be corporate stars, entrepreneurs, or business owners. Talk a little bit about just the things that have made them successful so far. Today, my guest is Manny Chambless. Manny, thank you so much for being here.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah. You're doing some really unique stuff on LinkedIn and just making content and trying a bunch of cool stuff that seems to be working. So just wanted to get into it and kind of dig deeper.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Awesome.
Sure.
Well, I think a good place to get started would just be kind of your background, how this whole thing started, the career choices that you've made leading up to this, like jobs that you've had out of college and how you got here.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in Miami my whole life, 18 years, and immediately I wanted to leave and branch out as much as I could. I ended up getting into UCF. And Go Knights.
Go Knights.
Yeah. And loved college, moved away when I was 18, had the time of my life. And senior year, COVID hit. So I was scrambling for a job as soon as I was about to graduate. And then found a role in IT sales, did pretty well there, was at that company for around a year and a half. And I learned a lot about selling, social media selling, email marketing, cold calling, the whole 9 yards. Basically a really good foundation for sales. And I got a new job at Dell Technologies. And from there, I used a lot of what I've learned in my old job, applied it to the new one. I'm doing pretty well so far. And in my new role, I'm working remotely. And I had a lot of time to pursue new alternatives. So my whole life, I've been a big fan of expanding, whether it be leaving home like I did to go to college. I've been playing guitar for like 15 years, something like that.
Cool.
Played almost every instrument you could possibly think of. Trombone, piano, bass, drums, everything. I always take a stab at new things. That's kind of like my
Sounds
brand.
like you just like to learn.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I really love being a beginner at stuff. I'm a really fast learner, and I love picking new things up and finding a way to do something with it and kind of like a cheat code to get there faster.
Yeah.
You know, not to take a shortcut, but just like, okay, how can I maximize learning this thing, right? Whether it be video games, video game development, VR, crypto, anything like that. I love taking, a chance at it. So the only issue with that is that usually after a few months, I'll get kind of bored of it, and I'll kind of just put it to the side. But I found LinkedIn, and I really got into it when I got this new job at Dell. And there I really got into branding, LinkedIn marketing, LinkedIn basically just promoting myself, what I stood for, the message I had to share. And that really all started because I had a lifelong goal of giving a TED Talk. That's been it for me for as long as I can remember. Since the first TED Talk I saw, I always envisioned myself on that stage, and I wanted to give one. So I started on LinkedIn. I met a coworker of mine through LinkedIn who had already given a TED speech, had way more followers than I did, and was pretty young. And I was like, wait, this is actually doable? And basically me and her talked, and she kind of pushed me and said, hey, you should probably start building a personal brand for yourself, start working on, getting there. You can start doing it now. You don't need to wait till you're 40 or 50, which was my preconceived notion. I thought you had to have a huge body of work.
The accolades, the experience.
Yeah, the publications, books, and stuff. But it really is open to anyone with a great idea to share. And I learned that pretty quickly, and I was, shocked. I was like, wow, I can really do this. So I made one really impactful LinkedIn post that really started it for me. I am a huge fan of Rafiq Anadol. He's my favorite artist in the world. He makes a generative AI art, and it's, just beautiful. And I saw someone on LinkedIn make a post of his art, and I quoted it, and I said, thanks, Rafiq Anadol, I mentioned him, for sharing this. You're changing the world every day. And he actually responded to my post. A guy with, no followers, he responded to my post and said, thank you. And it kind of clicked for me. This guy who has, millions of followers on Instagram and other platforms. On LinkedIn, though, he was, receptive enough to respond to a guy with barely any following. And I was like, no way, I can really do something with this. And then from there, everything just kind of snowballed, and here we are.
You just got like hooked on it. You saw the opportunity, and like it just worked.
Yeah, it really did. I kind of, my philosophy with it is, it's basically like fan mail in the 80s. If you wanted to write your favorite artist, your favorite musician ever, like let's say like Michael Jackson or something, you had to know their address, you had to write them a handwritten letter, pay for postage, send it off, hope they received it, hope you got everything right, hope they opened it, and hope that they would respond back to you, pay for postage again, and send it back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now in the age of digital, in the digital age, it's basically you're doing that same fan mail interaction just at a snap of your fingers.
Yeah, a lot lower barrier to entry too.
100%. Yeah, anyone can send anyone anything.
Mm-hmm.
So my school of thought was that Instagram and all the other big platforms have way too many people on them. And by that, I mean people who are hyper fans, people who will DM you, people who love all your stuff. I think it's too many people for them to actually have that genuine connection. But on LinkedIn, I find a lot of these creators like Alex Hormozy.
I love him.
The best.
Yeah,
the
he's
best.
the absolute best. He's kind of pioneering the LinkedIn game. Well, just the content creation game, but his kind of his way that he uses LinkedIn right now is some of the best stuff I'm seeing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of what I believe in honestly comes from him, and like he reinforces a lot of what I believe, if that makes sense, and a lot of the ways I go about my life.
Following that, I don't know if this is something you're doing already, but because I had found you pretty recently. I think we first talked maybe either like last week or the week before. Mm-hmm. But the way, I don't know if you know this, but the way he kind of takes his LinkedIn stuff and uses it further than that is he'll kind of test things on LinkedIn at first and then make video content out of that. So you could kind of probably take a lot of the stuff that's done really well on LinkedIn. And I know you do video stuff too, but like going forward, just create video content off of that and do really well.
Yeah. I've always had like goals in mind, I guess, for the future. I really don't know what it's going to bring. I've only been doing this LinkedIn thing less than 3 months, and wow, what's happened so far is it's indescribable.
Yeah.
But essentially, I think I can go 10 different routes, whether it be, dominating all social media platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram with, either repurposed content, like something that did really well on LinkedIn, like you said, or just, going all into LinkedIn or all into LinkedIn and Twitter. There's a whole different, there's different paths I can take at this point. The reason I haven't really done that yet, and I do think it's a valid place to go, is like, repurposing and doing the whole thing, is because I have really bad imposter syndrome, like horrible. As I just said, I've only been doing this.
I saw something about that on one of your posts. Yeah. It's kind of a common thread on this show, actually.
Yeah, like really, really bad imposter syndrome, like really bad. So the reason, I guess, it's just everything's happening so fast, right? And, I have one goal, and the next week I beat the goal, and I thought it would take me a month, right? And then, for instance, I wanted a post to hit 100 likes or 100 interactions or something, and the next day it did.
Wow.
The day before it was at like 50, my highest one, and then the next day I made a post that I thought would do well, and it really did. And then the next goal was 200 likes, and I got that. And then the next goal was, more than 10,000 impressions on a post, and like a week later hit like 45 on one post. And
damn.
Yeah, and this is not me bragging. This is me like my mind
just being like your mind's blowing at like how well it's working.
Yeah, like
what are some of the maybe like the top 2 or 3 things that you've realized, if you had to boil it down a little bit, that you've found that just work for getting engagement on LinkedIn? Like with posts in particular, now that like being on that thread.
Yeah, the first tip I can give anyone for that sort of thing, like what makes it's really up to what brand you're building. If you're going to be the video creation guy, you got to really give a lot of insight into video creation and give something that people aren't getting from another creator. I guess a second tip would be understand what your audience wants to receive. Understand, like, do they like written posts more? Do they like poll posts more? Do they like video, long form, whether it be articles, anything like that? And the way you do that is by testing. You have to test so much. You have to figure out what your niche likes and will they receive it. I tested it out with listicles, which is kind of like a niche term for LinkedIn creators, which is like, oh, here's the top 5 resources for XYZ. And you kind of walk it through these, and all of those posts that I've made have been terrible.
Yeah.
You know, and those are the ones that take me the most time to think of, to write, and to actually like formulate.
It's so funny in content creation, some of the things that you think that you put in the most effort and you feel like are going to perform the best absolutely flop. And then some of the things that you just threw together and you're like, I got to get something out, and you just throw it out. It does the best of anything.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It really is weird. I think a few big tips. Being as honest as you humanly can with your audience. Don't try to be someone you're not. Don't try to act like you're an expert if you're not. People love honesty. We're in an age where we're only consuming content from the top 1% of creators, whether it be the best dancers on TikTok, guitar players on Instagram. You're always seeing the best of the best. And a lot of people are kind of scared to like show themselves because they're not as good as those people. You know, if your algorithm is building out, oh, you love guitar, here's the best players on earth constantly, and you're not that good, why would you share your story?
Yeah.
I think being honest with people and sharing like, hey, this is what I'm doing to learn, this is what I'm doing differently than all these other people, really resonates with a lot of people. And I think another huge piece to building content and building a brand and getting those high engagement posts is being hyper relatable. Relatable, no matter what your niche is, being relatable to the guy who is an engineer, the guy who is, a truck driver, the person who is an alcohol distributor, anything. Make them feel like they've been there before. And those posts usually aren't too complicated to write. It's just, being yourself. And just, everyone hated, like, let's say math class. Everyone hated math class, and you kind of write a post about your experience in math class. One of my best posts was about the time I got in trouble in like second grade for like talking too much. And then I made a life out of it, and I talk for a living. And talking is what I want to do when I get older.
Yeah.
So.
Me too.
Exactly. That's why we're here,
Fun thing
right?
to do.
So yeah, like posts about being honest and just having everyone come together and like support you and fight in your corner is like, I think how you do the best.
I love that. So just doing a lot of testing, kind of figure it out, but just be honest, be yourself. How do you think of a lot of this stuff? Is it just kind of stuff that comes to your mind and you just like, you'll get an idea and like that kind of turns into something and you expand on it from there?
Yeah. So when I first started on LinkedIn, writing took so much out of me. I was reading a whole bunch of posts, watching videos and how people did what they do, how they have a system for writing. And I found myself spending basically my whole weekend thinking about posts and like what to do. And I was just getting such writer's block, right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't get it. I couldn't get it done. I was just like, dude, I have nothing important to say. Like, I'm not the expert. I'm not, I'm not a TED speaker yet.
But you knew you had to start somewhere.
Yeah. So how I really write is this part kind of is not fun about LinkedIn is that I always think of posts now. If I'm looking anywhere, I'll be in the grocery store, I'll be in my home cooking dinner, and I'll just think, hey, this could be a post. I'll stop what I'm doing, my pasta will boil over, and I'm just typing a post. That's kind of like a negative, I guess, but
I know
really
exactly what you mean. I'm always thinking about like the podcast and how something could relate back to it, like ideas for it, like whether it be marketing or like a new person to have on. I'll just meet someone and like start hearing about what they do, and I'm like, that's an angle.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of necessary if you really want to like do well in something to just let yourself get absorbed in it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think it's really important to learn all the time, and whether I learn from a new interaction when I talk to someone who I just met that day in Orlando, or if I talk to someone on LinkedIn and they really like changed something about me. Like, I remember getting this DM one time from someone who said, hey, I just got a LinkedIn profile because one of my friends screenshotted your post and sent it to me. I want to say thank you. And that was like fuel to write a post. That was, a story that like made my day.
Yeah.
And now it's getting to the point where those, not stories that impactful, but like tons of different stories. People are just messaging me with, how I changed their life or how I impacted their day in any, facet. And that's kind of the fuel right now. It's, what do they want?
It's an amazing feeling, right?
It's indescribable, really. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd still kind of like freak out internally a little bit every time someone even just comes up and says like they've seen the podcast or they saw one of my clips and like liked this clip or like this part of something. I'm just like, whoa. Like,
yeah.
People are like, you forget people are like actually watching it and like reading it and like seeing it.
Yeah.
It's kind of nuts.
Yeah. So since I work remote, a lot of it, that human experience you get is kind of like lacking. I'm fine with it, but it's kind of the same thing on LinkedIn where you're not really like meeting these people who are liking the post or commenting. I've never seen 99% of the people who comment on my stuff. I've gotten on video calls with a lot of people, networking calls just to meet new people.
Yeah.
And those are really, really fun and really cool. But, you know, it's really weird to understand that people are actually reading it. You just see like likes on a post or impressions and you're like, okay, you know, 1,000 people saw this post or something.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, it's just a number. But then you really realize that there's 1,000 people, there's 2,000 eyes on a post. And it's wild. It's really wild. That's the best word I can use to describe this whole feeling. It's just wild.
So you've been doing this for 2.5, 3 months. What do you see the next couple months looking like?
Yeah. So as I said earlier, I mean, I have this huge cloud of imposter syndrome over me. One of the people who helped me when I first got started, his name was Ruben Hasid. And I just messaged him randomly and he helped me with a lot of stuff for LinkedIn. And I remember I looked up to him and these 5 creators. And he mentioned me in a post after we talked a little bit, like this is like 2 weeks ago. He mentioned me in a post. He's like, these are the top 5 creators you got to watch right now. And he mentioned all the guys I looked up to and me.
Wow.
And the imposter syndrome I already had magnified. I was like, wow, this is crazy. I have these arbitrary goals in my head where it's like, okay, if I hit this number, I'll stop having imposter syndrome. And I quickly find out that it gets less and less and less.
I don't think it ever goes away, though.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it doesn't even.
I really don't think it'll go away. But
the president probably has imposter syndrome.
Oh,
yeah.
I couldn't even imagine. Imagine. So, the arbitrary goal I have is once I'm, you know, either a LinkedIn top voice in some facet, or I'm like, I don't know. These are all just arbitrary numbers. You know, like 5,000 followers. I'll be like, okay, now I'm actually doing it. But you know, I got on a call with.
Sounds like the goal is just keep going right now.
Yeah, as I said earlier, I really don't know. Like, there's 10 different paths at least I can take right now. There's so many paths I can take to make this thing, you know, real that I don't know which one's going to be it in the future. I have plans and I have, you know, goals set, and this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. I have like systems and processes done where I'm like, okay, I'm going to get better at writing. I'm going to take courses on writing. I'm going to take courses on email marketing or, you know, how to coach and stuff. But we're going to see.
What are a couple of the, because you mentioned just now taking courses on writing, what are a couple of the skills that really stand out as things that if you improve these particular skills, you could do really well on LinkedIn?
The only skill you really, really need on LinkedIn is to learn. And the way I explain it to people who I work with, a lot of newer LinkedIn creators, I really try to tell them, build your feed to a point where you're consuming content people who are better than you at something. Yeah. So if you want to get good at writing or email marketing, let's say, you follow the top creators. You just search up in the in the LinkedIn search bar, copywriting or email marketing. You find the top 10, 20 creators who write about it every single day. You see what they're writing. They give free tips on LinkedIn. It's ridiculous. It's a college degree for free in most cases.
Well, the model in content creation, at least in kind of the educational field right now, is moving, and I love this, in the direction of give away as much as you can for free and kind of build your audience based off of just providing as much value as you can. I had a long conversation about this with my guest yesterday who's in kind of B2B marketing, and it just works. The more you provide value to people, the more it just kind of builds an audience around you, and people want that value, and that just brings value and back to you in and of itself.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Basically everything I've done up to this point has been free. My content DM template course, all free. I basically teach myself 6 months ago. I want to teach people who are new to LinkedIn how to, you know, grow and how to at least share your story. That's my brand now, is just sharing your story. I think everyone, as I said earlier, like, we only see the top 1% of creators. I think it's really interesting to see how someone who's not good at guitar pick it up and start learning and like just document your whole experience and how it went and things you're doing differently that people may not think to do. You know, for me, when I started playing guitar, I quit guitar lessons after like 2 months, maybe in 2 weeks, honestly. And then,
I did too, actually, like way back when I was like 9 or 10.
Yeah, and then I
regret doing it. Like, I wish I would have stuck with it.
Yeah, the thing for me though is I went, and in the car ride home, I heard Iron Man by Black Sabbath. I'm super into rock, and that's the first song ever.
You do have a mullet.
Yeah, I do have a mullet. Yeah. So Yeah. I heard that song in the car at home. I was like, you know what? I'm going to see if I can learn this on guitar. And then I tried, didn't know it. And then I went to YouTube, saw how to play Iron Man on guitar. And then, boom, I learned it with that night. I was like, oh, I'm like 6 or 7 at this point. And I'm like, oh, I just learned how to play a song. Cool. Let's see what other songs I can play. Mm-hmm. And then I just learned and taught myself everything, you know? And if I would have documented that whole experience, a 7-year-old kid, or 7 to 10, I forgot how old I was, playing guitar and like teaching himself by ear and by like watching videos, I feel like it would have been crazy, you know?
Yeah.
It would have been really cool. I feel like not a lot of people were doing that. So everyone has a unique experience and everyone should share, no matter if your job is mundane or, you know, everyone's experience is different. Your interaction at the grocery store is different. Your plant buying experience is different than the next person.
Well, you're seeing it with TikTok in crazy ways right now, right? You're seeing people get massive followings around the most niche thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you could make a TikTok channel out of just like rating the new Truly flavors and probably blow up on it, just like doing some outlandish like rating of the new Truly flavors, like anything you can think of.
Yeah, for sure. We live in such a unique time, man, where you can just make something out of nothing, really. Mm-hmm. You can make something out of nothing. And man, it's really, really crazy. It really is. I think, man. So
what are a couple of the things, because you've mentioned that you have this kind of thing where you like to learn something and like end up putting it down after a little while in many cases, but not with LinkedIn. What are a couple of the things that you think you've found about LinkedIn that have just kept you coming back, that like you don't get bored of it?
Yeah. So basically I was, as I said, I was like, you have to build a feed for yourself. You really have to build a feed where you're looking at the best of the best who are giving away, as you mentioned, like free info on whether it be email marketing or content creation, whatever. Basically building a feed of those people, I learn every day. I wake up, I scroll LinkedIn and I see something new that I didn't know the day before. Without fail. It's happened every single day.
Yeah.
And that's a reason why I stay there, because I just learned so much. And I'm a quick learner, and I can basically implement a lot of what these people are saying the day of. I can follow like my top 10 creators, and then I see what posts of theirs did the best, and then what posts did okay. And it's not me stealing it. I'm learning from him. Hey, well, why did this post do better? Oh, it's more relatable. It has a wider reach. It has like a wider audience. Wider call to action, or maybe no call to action at all, just a call to like get involved in a discussion, you know, and learning and kind of just developing that new skill that can apply to my job. It can apply to my content creation, you know, side hustle. It can apply to my TED Talk that I want to give in the future. You know, who knows? That's why I like LinkedIn so much. I learn every day something new, something I didn't think I would know, and it just keeps me going. I learn something new about random stuff.
Do you have a set kind of schedule of how often you're going to post, or do you kind of just post as it comes to you, as the inspiration comes to you?
So usually it really depends.
So I feel like I see you, like, since I started following you, I feel like I see you post pretty often, but like sometimes people will have a schedule and they'll like want to stick to a schedule. Other times it's just like as it comes, as the inspiration comes.
Yeah. So I make it a point to show up even when I don't want to. Like, I love LinkedIn with a passion, but there's days where I'm like, man, I have nothing important to say at all.
Sure.
Like that imposter syndrome.
Or you're just super busy, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Even that too. That happens far more often.
Yeah.
But it's kind of weird to like not post, I guess, at this point. I know that there's people who really like what I have to write, no matter how mundane I think it is. People are inspired by like the randomest posts I make, and it's so cool, man. And basically, my system is I write my posts Sunday, and then I tweak them throughout the week. So if I don't like a post anymore, if I don't think it's cool, if my post on Monday did really bad, and Tuesday kind of follows the same format, see a Tuesday post. I figure it out.
So you write the whole week on Sunday?
I try to.
Typically?
I get like the ideas. Okay. I get the ideas set. Basically, I take like an hour or two. I get the ideas set. I write what I can force myself to write. And then as the week goes on, I wake up in the morning. I see what people are writing about, see if there's anything I can learn before I post. And a lot of people use scheduling bots to kind of ship out their posts every day at like a certain time.
Yeah.
I follow around 10 a.m. Eastern time, but you know, give or take, depending if I have to edit it or not, it usually follows 30 minutes either way. But yeah, I kind of just have a general idea what I want to say and, you know, important topics that I think people should know about. a lot of my content focuses on new creators, and a lot of it is helpful tips for them. When I first started, there was so much that I could have learned, so much I could have, been better at, just if I would have, listened a little bit more instead of just trying to I'm just gonna go for it and hit post.
Yeah.
A lot of it really comes down to, the exact opposite of what you think you need to win on LinkedIn is what you need. A lot of it is like connections. If a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, did it even make a sound?
Yeah.
If you have the world's best post that's going to get 1 million likes, but you have 0 connections, no one's going to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you're kind of just documenting your own journey so far. You're documenting things that you've experienced, that you know how to talk about, that you have maybe done wrong even, that you can tell someone how to do right now, having experienced it.
Yeah. And that's why I keep telling people to share their story, because it's really, really cool. What's happened to me, I don't think is special. I think it could happen to everyone. Mm-hmm. When it first really clicked that people really enjoy what I write, it felt crazy. And then I was like, wait a minute, dude, everyone can do this. Because what I'm writing is just my experience. I'm not really that crazy of a kid. I don't have a Lamborghini. I'm not that rich. I don't have, buku bucks. I'm a normal guy who lives in Orlando, and I just, write my experiences,
Yeah, I think the thing that stands out to me about the way you write is it's just, you can tell that you're on the cusp of like the best way to write on LinkedIn. You always get that sense from reading your posts as I've seen them. Mm-hmm. That's what really attracted me to your posts in the first place. I saw them a couple times, and then eventually I just saw it again. I was like, I keep seeing these guys' posts, and I don't even know him, don't follow him, but he, people I know keep liking his posts and bring it to the top of my feed, and I would see him, and it's always just it's a very unique kind of way that you lay things out and lay out your ideas, and you can tell that you're constantly kind of tweaking it and trying things out. And it's, for me, same thing. I like to follow creators that are just doing things differently, trying things and figuring it out.
For sure. Yeah, when I first started, I was testing really wide. So I would test one type of post versus another, versus another, versus another. And then now it's kind of been to a funnel where it's now I tweak very small things, very minute things, like certain emojis I use in my posts, certain ways of speaking, certain hooks that people will comment oh, you got me with your hook, because it's so different and so unique. So I test out a lot with my hooks, but I test out very small things so that my engagement stays pretty good. I don't test wild posts. I don't test total crazy contrarian posts where it's just everyone's gonna hate on it.
Yeah.
I was thinking about doing that for a while, but I quickly was no, it's probably not.
It's a tough thing to avoid. I find myself having to avoid that now because it kind of happened to me accidentally with one of my posts. My biggest ever clip on TikTok was it was 67,000 views and something 5,000 or 6,000 likes, hundreds of shares, hundreds of saves, because it was this super controversial point. I had a realtor on. Actually, she literally is in an office in this building, and she came on and she said Orlando is the next Las Vegas and Miami is the next Manhattan. And I just made it a clip without even thinking about it, and it was just the most polarizing thing ever. People freaked out. People from Florida were celebrating and loving it, and people from Las Vegas and Manhattan were freaking out, and it just it went nuts. But I mean, it's a very easy thing to do, but it doesn't necessarily build an audience.
I think it just gives you clout, I guess. There's tons, you can see it. There's tons of YouTube accounts that will just post best TikTok compilations or best, whatever it may be. And they have, 1 million followers, 1 million whatever. They probably make good money on it, but they're not really.
They have no personal brand.
Yeah, it's nothing, It's just, it's a figure in the bank at the end of the day.
Yeah.
My focus, and I think on LinkedIn it's a lot easier, is if you have a message to share, or if you have anything you want to put out to the world, especially in written form. I think I've loved writing since I was a kid. I think written form is widely overlooked, especially when, in today's age, everyone's hooked on just watching 6-second videos. Mm-hmm. I think it's really, really important that written form gets out there a little bit more. And
it gets paid attention to on LinkedIn in a different way than really anywhere else.
Exactly.
I think even more so than Twitter.
Yeah, honestly, I can agree. I think Twitter, the attention span is the same. When you see a tweet that doesn't automatically hook you, you're gone. You're gone.
A lot of it is just really short ones, whereas the way you post, you've got these long kind of drawn out things, and I think people read the whole thing.
This shirt is by one of my favorite brands called Half Evil, and they're so cool. Back in the day in in high school, I used to have a brand called Good Samaritan, and that was my first like entrepreneurial venture ever. And that really kind of put me down the path.
Have you always kind of felt like an entrepreneur?
I always felt like I had to do something different.
Yeah.
I always felt like there was another path I could take. There was something more I could be doing. And it really started with Good Samaritan. I remember I was walking through a Walmart, and I thought of a name for a clothing brand. I was like, Good Samaritan, that'd be pretty cool. I looked it up. There was no clothing brands like that. And then one thing led to another. I found some printers in Miami, and then I basically made my first design ever. I was really, really into it for a little bit. It was really, really fun, and I still design a lot of shirts. I design logos for a lot of my friends, whatever ventures they're doing. But yeah, this brand, Half Evil, is my favorite. Sponsor me. They are the best. They make basically a lot of what I was hoping to make with a brand. They really did it and capitalized and made it like my dream brand. So every new drop they make, I have to buy something. They're, I think they're the next big brand. I think
nice.
Cool.
Looks like a little bit edgy, but kind of cool. Like it's the Pokemon font.
Yeah, I'm glad you know.
Yeah.
that.
Oh, of course, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I played them all.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Huge Pokemon guy. Yeah, I'm a huge video game guy, and I don't know if that kind of led me into this whole like doing something different thing, but I've always loved those free roam games where you can just pick a path and do whatever the hell you want.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in video games that I really loved, like Skyrim or Elden Ring or Zelda, even all of those games, you had a choice and you can choose to do it or choose to do whatever you wanted. And I've always thought in life you have that. You have a choice to stick to the script or do your own thing or make it happen some way. I feel like the people I look up to the most just did the latter, just did something their own way.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, when I first started this whole LinkedIn thing, everyone was laughing at me like, why are you posting selfies? Why are you writing this? This is so bad. But for as many people as there was saying that to me, and a lot of them, even my friends too, they were all like laughing at me when we would see each other. Double the people would say, this is amazing. This is so cool. And the shift that has happened in 2.5, 3 months is ridiculous. Now I go to bars, and people who I haven't seen in years, I'll say hi to them and they're like, man, I really love your LinkedIn stuff, man.
Yeah.
I really am. Dude, it's awesome. And that brings a smile to my face, man. It's really, really crazy to see, how wild it shifted.
The going to the bars thing, I've gotten a little bit of the same thing with the podcast. It's kind of nuts. Like just going out and like, just that, like someone you haven't seen in maybe like a year or two, like even just finding out that they've like seen your stuff, it's just kind of nuts. Like it's like it makes it real, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it really does. That whole realness of it. It's in this digital age we live in. It's really hard to get that human connection, man. But I think when you really see it in person, it's like, wow, I'm really making a difference. No matter how small or big, no matter the scale, it's really cool that you're making a difference for anyone.
I think it's important to get out there and like make those actual kind of human to human connections in addition to all of this stuff too.
Yeah, for sure. It
brings that context back to it that like allows you to just put in the realness that it takes to make it just a connectable thing and like a relatable thing.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's wild. It really is. It's the coolest thing when you see people are actually like relating to it, especially in person. Like, the feeling I would love to describe it for you all, but it's hard to put into words. Yeah.
I mean, fuel to get out there and do it.
Yeah.
Try it for yourself.
Yeah. It's probably a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The more I see the change happening where like, my friends and people I knew would like laugh at me and say it was so stupid what I was doing. And then now it's the complete opposite where they're all like, my friends are even asking me, how do I do this? How do I do this on LinkedIn? And I love helping them, but I'm like even more so like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like
No, I know what you mean. It's a hard hurdle to get over when you like first start something because it seems like it's not working when you first start it, and it's not. You have to figure out how to get it to work to keep it going.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of doubters, and it's an easy thing to stop you. But if you just keep pushing through and see the bigger picture, you can do it.
Exactly. I think it's really important to have like a big picture in mind. My thing was I always wanted to impact people, no matter the scale. I really didn't care if it was like 1 million people. Obviously, that's the goal for everyone. But even impacting one person with your unique experience, it doesn't matter if you're the best at something or if you're like an expert at whatever. If your unique experience can impact one person and you think it can, why not? Why not just post that, make that LinkedIn post, make that, TikTok clip? Who knows? Maybe one day you'll be changing lives like you and me are hoping to do. So,
yeah. Speaking of changing lives, I know you want to be a TED speaker one day. Have you given much thought to like the general topic that it might be in, or are you kind of leaving that open for when you figure it out and when it hits you?
Yeah. So when I first started on LinkedIn, I was really set on I'm going to be a tech guy because I work in tech and I love technology, computers, video gaming, everything around that space I love, right? Especially even like digital creating and stuff. It's really, really going to shape our future for the next 10, 20, 30 years. So I always thought that was going to be it. I always thought my TED Talk was going to be about the next newest things in tech and how I'm playing a role in them. I thought it'd be when I was like way down the line, 40, 50 years old, giving a TED Talk about my experiences in AI or whatever it may have been. But I think now my calling, I guess, is helping people share their story. Not I guess, I know it's helping people share their story. I think, as I've said, numerous times on LinkedIn and on here, it's everyone has a unique story to share, man, and not enough people are doing it. Not enough people are giving their take on things. Not enough people are just putting themselves out there and seeing if what they make sticks.
Yeah.
Every big company you looked up to when you were growing up that you wanted to work for or that you thought was super cool, they all started by themselves or like with one person in like a room, They all just started small. Any big influencer you saw made their first post. Any big guitarist or anything you like, they all made their first post and they were probably in the same shoes as you. Like, wow, there's so many people who are better than me. Why should I do this?
I remember I heard, as a podcast host now, I'm constantly just watching other podcasts, like always trying to find new ones and just look at like little things that work for them that are unique to them. And like similar to like you with the LinkedIn stuff, like trying to get fly flying around. Third podcast guest. But just trying to like pick out little ideas from here and there and like bring them all together. I watch entertainment stuff, education stuff, all kind of like trying to like make it a whole thing that like leads me into being a better podcast host. And I remember I heard another podcast host one time say like kind of talking about when they first got started and it was like just tough to get over that initial hurdle. They actually would go and find other podcasts and go to their very, very first video, just scroll all the way down to it or like the audio, whatever, and just look at like the views of it and look at like, oh, they also had to start at nothing and like build it up from somewhere.
Every person or every company you look up to started at nothing.
Mm-hmm.
They either started with an idea or they, developed an idea from their experiences and they created something.
Yeah.
That's what separates a lot of your goals from where you are today. It's really just, you have this idea, why not share it? If it sucks, dude, what's going to happen?
On to the next.
At least you tried.
Yeah.
When I leave this earth, I hope that I've tried everything I wanted to try. That's a huge mantra for me is I want to try everything. I want to get after it. Whatever it is, if I have an interest in it, I'm going to try. No matter what it is. If it's, jiu-jitsu or if it's like bowling or if it's like, becoming an interior decorator. If it's anything like that, I'm going to take a stab at it. And if it doesn't work, who cares?
Where do you think that mindset comes from for you?
I really wish I could tell you where like
it sounds like something you've always had.
Yeah, I've always been that guy who's just doing something different. I don't know. Maybe my parents instilled it in me. I hope it's them.
Yeah.
Hey, mom and dad, if you're listening.
Little shout out.
Yeah, they really shaped me into being who I am. I think a lot of my good characteristics come from both my parents. They both really reinforced me that you can do anything. And, like most parents do, but they really like gave me the tools. Like, hey, if you really want to learn this thing, if you want to learn guitar, we'll buy you a guitar.
Yeah.
And, if you really want to get into this, we'll help you with this. If you really wanted to, for instance, I wanted to play high school basketball. I was decent. I'm decently tall.
Mm-hmm.
So my parents bought me a coach, and it's not just buying me things. It's like encouraging me. Like, hey, you can do this. We'll be here if you need it.
Yeah.
And it was just, I guess the reinforcement, like, hey, anything you want to do is possible.
Sound like good parents.
Yeah. I created my clothing company and they were the first people to like put an order in and they were the first people to like try to put me in contact with like a lawyer to like patent it and like copyright it. And I guess a lot of their support really made it seem like, hey, this is doable, man. A lot of what I want to do is here.
Yeah.
It's wild to think of that, but it's crazy.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
On a little bit of a different note, we had kind of a couple things we talked about off air that I thought would be interesting to get into, just talking about some of the stuff that you do. One thing that we kind of were tossing around is just this idea of like tips for monetizing things online. Mm-hmm. And you said that you had like a couple things that you had picked up from just talking to different creators and people on LinkedIn, people online.
Yeah.
What are a few tips that stand out for you as just ways to monetize things online?
Yeah. I think a lot of what I know about monetizing online is from my experience in sales and my internships in college and my roles that I've had out of college, and especially from the people I learn from every day, in any situation you have in your life or anything you want to do, you're going to need people there. You can do it on your own, but if you want to start a podcast, you're going to have to go online and look up how to do a podcast.
Yeah.
That person is helping you, even if it's not like face to face. I think people are going to be your biggest resource for how to find out how to monetize and how to specifically get into your niche. So let's say you want to be the best, let's say you want to be the best interior decorator in the world. Find on LinkedIn the best interior decorators in the world, get with them, and just try to connect with them, understand where they started, where they're coming from, and use what they write every day and just kind of use that as okay, this is what they're doing. This is why it's working. And if you become friends with them, you start connecting with them, and you actually get to start talking to them, that's when you can start building those relationships, and you can start asking things like, hey, I see you're selling a course on this. Any chance you can tell me how you kind of got into this? What did you do? And then from my experience, the best way to do it is connecting with people and building an audience first. Finding what niche you want to be in and sticking to it. For me, it's new creators. I want to help people who are like me 2.5 months ago, who were scared to hit that post button and didn't know where to go after they did it. I want to help them get to where I am in a fifth of the time. You know?
Help them learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
And just shortcut it.
So the biggest thing for me, I think, is connecting on LinkedIn. I think that's by and large the biggest thing. People are missing, if a tree falls in the woods, no one's around to hear it, didn't even make a sound. Best post won't go anywhere without connections. So I have a free course. It's my 5 best that I've used to build my audience, cold DM templates. So I would send these out to people who I really looked up to, not just random people. It would be people who were in the same niche as me, people who made content for new creators, for CEOs who wanted to get into the space, for people who wanted to get into copywriting, into marketing, into sales. I would connect with them. If I liked what they wrote, I would send them these templates. I would just go off from there and just be friends with them, ask them tips. I'd comment on their stuff. They'd comment back. And from there, I started posting more. And there I started really getting into okay, I can help you, you can help me. Here's what we're going to do it. And it was never a transactional thing. It was oh, your goal is this. I'm going to help you. And oh, your goal is this. Okay, cool. I'll help you. And people are really going to bring you there. And I think as far as a monetization standpoint, it really comes down to your niche. Are you offering something that most people aren't offering? And are you willing to get help? If you want to just release something by yourself, you can go for it, but it probably won't do well. You're going to need people to review it. That's a big thing. A lot of my friends, before I released my courses, I have people review it night and day, make sure it was cool. I would send it to my friends. I would make sure, hey, does this make sense? Is this overstepping? Not release this? And all the
Get some feedback.
Feedback is wildly important. So I really don't have any actionable, here's how you're going to monetize. I think
that's an important note is figuring out what it means for your niche specifically. Figure out.
Yeah.
I think there's some subtext we missed there. I want to zoom in on for a second is figuring out what your niche is in the first place is very important, and figuring out how to talk about that. It's you're building a brand, right? You're building your own brand. And if you're building a clothing brand or something like that, you have to figure out what the story of that brand is and how to tell that story. What's your messaging? What's your messaging going to be on every different channel that you're on? You have to figure out how to communicate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a huge piece of the puzzle is your niche. As I said, when I first got on there, I thought I was going to be Mr. Tech. I was going to be the guy who talked about all the newest innovations. And I found the most joy of just telling my experience day in and day out, however dumb it was, or however, what's the word for it? Monotonous, I guess.
Yeah, however, insignificant it seemed.
Yeah, however, weird my experiences were. As I've said, it's I love to learn and keep learning every day. That's why I think LinkedIn is huge for me. But I learned from even interactions in a grocery store, or, interactions when I'm trying to buy clothes or something. I learned from a lot of people and a lot of the things I'm doing, even if it's just something small. And I feel like I could turn that into something that could help someone. Or, I learned a sales tactic from this guy at Abercrombie & Fitch or something, whatever it may be. If I learn something, I feel like I can share it with people. And I feel like since I've already started sharing, let's write this as a post. And then from there, the whole tech thing kind of faded away. And I was like, you know what? I'm really just good at learning things and helping people out, helping people connect to people. Like, I had friends of mine send me screenshots using my cold DM templates, and they're like, hey, this guy with 200,000 followers said this is the best DM he's received in a year. And I was like, wow.
That's huge.
I feel like me helping people share their story is my story, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like that's where it's going to go, and that's where it's, taking me now.
Sounds like that could be what your TED Talk is on one day.
That's it, right?
In some format, yeah.
Yeah, I think I technically have my TED Talk written out. I've had it written out for like a few months now. As soon as I kind of got into LinkedIn and I was
figured out that niche.
And I was like, yeah, I figured it out that like, okay, I'm good at helping people share their story. I think everyone has a story to share. Now I know what my TED Talk's going to be on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got a DM from one of my friends, Chris, and he sent me a screenshot of him applying for my TED Talk, or like he submitted my name into TED. So it's like, I was like,
wow.
I was like, dude, it's real, man.
Yeah.
And then I like looked in the mirror and I was like, wow, man, this can really be happening after like a month and some change on LinkedIn. And then another TEDx talk opened up in Tampa. I applied to speak at that. And I don't have a response yet, but, fingers crossed if you're looking at this. I would love to.
So you're already actively applying and like leaving it open to it could happen now.
Yeah. I'm
That's
not
awesome.
expecting anything. I'm expecting that I need to do some more. The imposter syndrome thing is still super relevant right now.
Sure, yeah.
So, if I didn't get one, or if I did, I would feel like I'd feel two different things, but I kind of feel the same. Like, okay, I've either earned it. Okay, I need to earn it.
Yeah.
It's that same feeling of like, okay, this is the answer. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I'm fine with the answer no matter what it is. If they say yes, awesome. Life goal complete. Like, I'm going to be so happy.
What would you do if it happened like next week and then you did it and you're done and your TED Talk is out there and this lifelong goal is done? What do you think you would do?
Dude, funny enough, I've always thought of that. I'm like, am I just going to like stop? I don't think I am. It's a very philosophical thing to think about. It's like, what do goals really even mean at the end of the day? It's like, they're just there to keep you from boring yourself to death, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to do this. It's like, why? I really want to help people, no matter what it is, whether it be some guy I meet at a convenience store, or online, on LinkedIn. If my TED Talk gets like 2 views, hey, I still did it and I still followed through with my goal. Hell yeah, I'm super happy with that. I don't know.
Think you would just start writing the next one?
I don't know. I think I'd kind of leverage it and be like, I'm a TEDx speaker and this is, where I'm going to do. I'd kind of figure it out. I'd just be like, I think I'd go full time into like coaching or full time into public speaking.
Yeah.
I feel like the confidence I've gained from LinkedIn and the things that it's taught me prepare me enough that I could confidently give that speech next week. If you asked me 2 months ago, I'd be like, dude, no, I would leave the country.
Yeah.
But now with what I've learned and the experiences I've had, I definitely think I can do it next week.
Yeah.
I'd have to prepare it. I wouldn't get any sleep, but I would do it. And I'd be super stoked to do it.
You had a really good note there. The confidence you gain from just diving into something like this and really, really learning about it and getting better at something is incredible. I've gotten that similarly just from growing the podcast and figuring out how to do a podcast and just trying to be a better host. Just improving in a craft brings you so much confidence, no matter what it is.
Yeah. One of my good friends, David Lasowski, he is the man. He's helped me so much with everything I do, whether it be especially video creation. He is my go-to guy whenever I have to do anything video-wise, and life-wise, he's really, really a great mentor to me and teach me a lot about, how he's succeeded in digital platforms. He's really big on Facebook and a few other channels, but he talked with me about something that was so important, which is the switch from confidence to conviction in your life. And I think now, when you first start in a platform, you have to kind of show confidence, like, hey, I am this guitar player, I am this artist, I am this content creator, I am this expert in this field.
Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of like fibbing to the audience, you're not really lying, but you're just like, hey, I'm a figure, and this is.
You're inflating a little bit.
You're inflating a little bit, and everyone does it. It's the trick of the trade. You got to show your best of your best, what you've been doing. Even if your life is mundane, you can just be so you and so unique and so special that it you come across with a lot of confidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then quickly, as you start gaining traction, you start feeling like, okay, people actually resonate with this. I got to keep going. I got to keep running with it. And that's what happened with me and sharing my story stuff. I kind of strayed away from the tech stuff and went into TED Talk and sharing your story and how important it is for new creators to get on here and just post something and just connect with someone who can maybe give them a new job, or just connect with someone who can, tell them where they should move, the next city they should move to, you know? You never know.
Yeah, LinkedIn is so great for stuff like that too. I don't think I've shared this story before on the podcast, but that remote job that I mentioned earlier that I learned a ton from, it was basically it was a job with a marketing agency out of Jacksonville, and our biggest client was Marriott and Marriott Digital Services, like the resort company.
Yeah.
So I worked with different Marriott hotels around the country, and it was this incredible job that taught me so much. I actually literally just got that job because I got like a I had like really fluffed up my resume on LinkedIn, and I just got a cold DM from like the HR manager of the place, and she was hiring, and I just answered it and got on a call, and like 2 weeks later I had a job, like this awesome job straight off of LinkedIn.
Yeah.
It happens just like that.
It's wild.
And I wasn't even like sharing anything, doing anything at the time. So if you start sharing your story, doing stuff, and like actually.
Oh, I think I got the fly. Oh, no, he's gone. Yeah.
First time we've had a fly on the podcast. Did you ever watch Breaking Bad?
Oh, yeah.
There's that whole episode where the entire episode he's just like chasing a fly around.
It's awesome.
We almost get into a podcast where the whole time we're just trying to catch the fly. But anyway, yeah, I just got this job just from like being on LinkedIn and being prepared, and it's an incredible platform for opportunities in career.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think a huge piece of LinkedIn is connections. I think it's the biggest thing is the people you can meet. Like a lot of the people I know kind of are in the same field, and the different walks of life that I've been able to meet, people who live in different countries. The amount of my friends who are in the UK now is mind-boggling to me. I would never think that I would talk to someone digitally who lives there in a million years, but now I'm friends with like 10 creators who all live there, people who live all over the states, all over everywhere, and it's they do totally different things from me. They can work in construction, they can work in marketing, they can work in hospitality, nursing, things like that, and it's just so bizarre to see like how fast LinkedIn has helped me develop a network of people who just like what I write, I like what they write, and now we're friends. I
love that tip so much that you had earlier. I want to just reemphasize it about whenever you want to learn something, just going into the search bar and just searching for the best creators on it, because the best creators in a specific topic on LinkedIn are not only going to be knowledgeable on the subject, but they're the best creators on the subject, not only because they're knowledgeable, but because they're the best at sharing it, and they know how to boil it down to understandable points. So you'll learn faster from them too. It's the same thing with like YouTube, like going on and just trying to learn something on YouTube. But LinkedIn is this very interesting focus on just professionalism and like your career and developing your career in all kinds of different facets.
Yeah, it's wild. It really is so important, your connections and even the people you follow. I mean, I think it's really important for everyone who starts on LinkedIn to build a feed of what they want to learn. If they want to learn email marketing, go out there, find the best people, maybe send them a connection request. If not, just follow them and learn from how they write, what they do, and the free tools they give out. It's almost priceless at this point, in my opinion. I think it's so important that your feed is what you want to learn. You can learn from these people night and day. And really, the coolest thing is that you can DM them and literally just get to know them and pick their brain like that immediately. Like I've talked to people who have 50 times the amount of followers I do, and I don't even have that many in my eyes, but I think 50 times what I have is like bonkers.
Yeah.
And I've talked to them. They've reached out to me. People have reached out to me who are like, I really love what you're writing. I'm like, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
A huge tip that I will give out for free. It's the way I built a lot of my connections is I would find those top creators in, let's say, email marketing. I'd find the top 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd send them all connection requests using my DM templates. And then what I would then do is go to their best posts or their posts that are featured on their profile, go there or the most recent ones, scroll down and see who's commenting on the profile and what are they writing? Are they writing things that I would also comment? Are they commenting? And if you really, this is a very niche thing, but if you look at LinkedIn and you see their name, you'll also see their tagline or their bio right under their name in the comments. So you can go there and say, let's say my niche is I want to help surfers get on TikTok. I find the top guy who talks about that on LinkedIn. I go to his post with 1,000 likes. I find 4 guys in the comments that are like, surfer bro who wants to get, or like surf enthusiast, or like TikTok enthusiast. You just message those people too. You kind of funnel it down. I kind of use the whole funnel. It's like I find the top creators, who's commenting on their stuff, and then you kind of just keep going from there until you find your ideal person. You can find them on any stage. Like maybe the top creator is your ideal client or your ideal friend you want to meet.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me, I never think of anyone as a client. I really think it's like I'm helping this person. I think it's like a person or a friend. I'm going to funnel it down, and if like the top person is getting a lot of traction writing what I want to write, I go to their comments. Who's commenting on their stuff? I send them one of my 5 cold DM templates. They kind of just, you add a whole bunch of people. It's not randomly, but it's targeted. You find someone who's writing what you like, something you would write, and there, if they see your post, they end up clicking into your profile. They see that you're writing about the same stuff. Easy connection.
Yeah.
And from there, you can build a lot of connections following what you like.
Valuable connections that are going to engage and comment.
And then your feed now is all of those people. All of those posts that are related to the same things you like are all in your feed constantly. And that's what really helped me. It really all started with Justin Welsh. He is the best creator, I think, on LinkedIn. I think there's no one who does it better than him. There's a few others who are getting close to his level, but Justin Welsh is it. And I would always go to his profile. Every single morning he would write. I would write a comment. I'd see he gets hundreds of comments. I'd find people who have similar taglines, like helping CEOs get noticed on LinkedIn, helping fintech executives get noticed on LinkedIn, helping TikTok stars move into LinkedIn. I want to help people move into LinkedIn, no matter where the hell they are, So I would add all of those people. My feed is now how this guy's helping TikTokers get here. How this guy's helping Facebook influencers get here,
Mm-hmm.
And so then I keep learning, and the cycle keeps going. And it's a huge LinkedIn learning circle. It really is. And that's kind of what really pushed me at the beginning, is finding so many people. My feed was so knowledgeable of like things that I was going to get good at,
In the entrepreneurial world, there's a lot of buzz around just finding good mentors for things, and how that relates to LinkedIn a little bit.
Yeah, I think mentors are a huge piece of success, but not in the way that everyone thinks. Everyone thinks you need to find a specific person to be your mentor, or someone who's going to guide you to your path, your destined path. I think a lot of what I like about LinkedIn is the fact that everyone's a mentor. Everyone who I follow shares something, whether it be their experience from the day, their lessons from being a CEO, their lessons from failing, their lessons from succeeding and closing a huge deal. They're all pseudo mentors. It's all giving you little tidbits of what a good mentor would give you, and it's all free. And if you're scared to go reach out and ask for an actual mentor, LinkedIn's the perfect place for you. You can learn so much for free just if you look in the right places. I think a super important piece for people to do when you first start, it's not about posting. It's mainly about doing outbound connection requests. And it's not just shooting your shot with 100 different people a day. That's how you're going to get your account banned. I think it's just finding 10 to 15 to 20 people a day who you really admire, and you think, oh, I want to get into copywriting. I'm going to follow the top 20 people. I'm going to connect with them, send them a cold DM, and see if they want to just teach me anything. Just ask them a quick question, like, hey, how did you get started? That's it. And then they just say, hey, I quit my job doing this, and I learned this. I took this course, and this is how I got to where I am today. And a lot of these people have really helped me become really, really good at helping people share their story.
Well, everyone's got a different entry point too, right? You
Absolutely.
can get something different from any creator. Like if you follow 20 copywriters, everyone's going to give you a little bit something a little bit different.
Yeah, and exactly. In your feed, you'll realize that everything you see is just a little bit different. Everyone has that unique, touch.
Their own
on
perspective.
Posts, on their, comments, on, the things they, repost. And learning from every single person there is, in my opinion, the same value as having a mentor. It's the same value as having, a specific person to teach you these things. You have 20 different people teaching you one thing a day. It's almost as good as having one person teach you one thing face to face, in my eyes. I think it's wildly overlooked to go and add new people in on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So just get out there, make a ton of connection requests, but make them intentionally.
Yeah.
Very intentionally targeted across the types of things you want to improve on yourself.
Yeah. And another huge piece that I will add is a lot of the DMs that I have in my cold DM course are, tried and true. I've used them all, and they've all worked out really well for me. People have been like, wow, I really appreciate that. It's very thought out. You should really try putting a personalized spin on them. People get DMs constantly. I'm sure you do. I do all the time. the worst thing that I see on LinkedIn is people just trying to cold sell you things, whether it be, hey, you know, thanks for connecting.
Literally talked about this yesterday.
The worst thing on LinkedIn is that everyone gets flooded on their inboxes with, you know, just, hey, donate to this, or hey, you know, we have a new opportunity for you in Kuwait or something. You're like, what?
You mentioned that you, like, how many you get now, just like constantly. I get a lot too, just out of virtue of like what I do, like the things I'm involved in. And like, I find that I don't have enough time to go through all of them. Do you even have enough time to go through all of them, or not really? Or?
I would love to say that I do.
It gets impossible at a point, right?
Yeah. So as I was saying when we were off air, when I first started, what really changed for me is I really focused on other people and not my own posts. I would just post what I thought of the day. I'd post it, and then I would go connect with 10, 20 people a day, people who either thought like me, and then after a while, I would try going after people who didn't think like me, people who I thought had something new, you know, a different field that maybe I didn't know a lot about. You know, I'd just kind of go after them, see if I can, you know, change my perspective on something, no matter how minute it might be. I would do that for a while. And then now, you know, when I first started this whole LinkedIn thing 2.5 months ago, I was only at like 500 connections, and now I'm at like 3,000 something.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Thank you. And it's still a journey. It's still like, this is, to me, everything seems like chapter 1. Everything seems like this is just the beginning. This is like, and it's not that I expect to be like at 100,000. It's just like every milestone feels like, okay, like there's got to be something.
What next?
Yeah, what next? So as I said, I was just
constantly moving the goalposts forward.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Should patent that, the chapter 1 mindset.
Yeah, it's just chapter 1. It's always just, hey, this is the beginning. You know, this is the beginning. Oh, you got here faster than you thought? This is just the beginning. That's actually really good. I'm going to write that down a little bit.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's essentially, man, like I connected with all these people when I first started. And since I've grown so much and people related to my stuff, now it's gotten to the point where people are hitting me up. It was 10, 20 people a day. Now it's 20 to 40 people a day messaging me. And it's gotten to be a lot. And it's so enjoyable in like the weirdest way, where it's like, oh, I don't have the time for this. And it's like the best problem to have.
Yeah, being too busy, it really is.
Yeah.
Like there's, I mean, things that come along with it, but ultimately you know that it's always elevating you and pushing you to be better if you're that busy all the time. Yeah. What are some things that really stand out in like so I hadn't even shared this yet, but just candidly, the way we connected is I think I just cold DM'd you, and I was just like, hey, like I've been seeing your posts. I like what you're doing. Like, do you want to be on the podcast? So obviously, like you're in the midst of like getting all these. What was it? What are the types of things that work for you if like someone's reaching out that like catches your attention?
Yeah, I think I can smell honesty like a mile away. I click into every single one. Like,
okay.
I have the time to just click into them. A good like third of them, I won't even respond. It'll be like a sales pitch. It'll be like someone just.
I know exactly what you mean. I was having a conversation about this literally yesterday about how like so many people go straight for the sales pitch. They're like, I'll get DMs that are like, hey, I noticed that you have a problem with your lead generation.
Yeah.
They'll go straight into like, do you want 20 new qualified candidates on your calendar tomorrow? Like, just like, what? I wasn't even looking for this. Like, you're way off base.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's so weird. I think like my mantra is life is all about upgrading your problems. Always. It's upgrading your problems, whether it be like, you know, food, shelter, you know, that's the basic problems. Clothing, then it goes like better food, then it goes better connections, then it goes better people, better relationships. And it keeps, you know, leveling up. So like my problem was that I wasn't getting enough reactions or posts because I wanted to be a LinkedIn creator. And then I started getting them, and now the problem is I can't satisfy everyone. You know, now I have to figure out who deserves, you know, responses. And everyone does. Don't get me wrong. Everyone deserves a response. But at the same time, people say, hey, thanks for connecting. I say, of course, man. Like, super happy to be connected with you. The next thing, I'm inviting you to a 30-minute like pitch or like a 30-minute call where we can just talk about my lead gen platform. Like,
like you're trying to connect right off the bat with that. Like, we haven't even had the chance to connect and like me and build value with each other and like give me a reason to buy into what you're doing. Like, it's putting the cart before the horse. Exactly. A lot of people do that.
The word is connection. Like, hey, I'm connecting with you. It's not like I'm connecting with you. The mindset of a lot of people is I'm going to connect with you because I can sell to you.
Yeah.
I feel like if I wanted to sell on LinkedIn, I could kill it because it really is just about building a legitimate relationship, man. And if you have a product that ends up like aligning with them, dude, maybe go for it. I don't think selling on LinkedIn is wrong. I think you can build a relationship with someone. If I talk to you about like, my microphone business and you talk to me, hey, I have a podcast, hey dude, look, I'll give you a sick discount. You're really cool. Like if you're interested, dude, sweet. If not, no worries, man. You're still a cool guy, But if I just went for it, hey, do you need microphones? You'd be like, I mean, maybe. And I send you a quote for like microphones. You'd be like, dude, whatever. But if I give you the story, if I tell you like, hey, like I started this thing out of my, my basement, me and like my parents are like funding this whole thing, and it's really, really cool. Like, dude, that's really cool. I would love to support you, man. I'd love to buy your microphones,
Yeah, you've got to build that trust, build that value first.
Building a whole story and building a whole like a reason for people to buy is massively important in sales and in LinkedIn. It's not just selling yourself, it's selling your idea. Like, this guy is going to be my go-to for X, whether it be microphones, exotic fish, or, or like pillowcases, whatever it may be, right? It's like...
Funny you say exotic fish. I just came across some account the other day on like Instagram or TikTok or something of this guy where his whole niche is like he's the shrimp breeder. He's like, he is all this content of him just being in this room surrounded by like tanks of just shrimp, and he's just breeding and selling like expensive shrimp.
Dude.
And he's built this whole niche around it.
That is so wild.
Yeah, it's like it can get so specific, and everyone, like you have been saying a couple times, like everyone's got their own kind of like unique perspective and story to share.
Yeah, everyone does. No matter what you do, man, no matter what it is you do, you have a unique story. I promise. It's if you're a bagger at Publix, if you're, a door guy at Walmart, I bet you there's so many cool stories you can tell. Like,
if you're a door guy at Walmart, you probably see insane shit.
Yeah,
like hear crazy stories
all the time. I bet. Like I'll tell you one of the coolest stories that I really wanted to share with LinkedIn, and I did when I was earlier on, was this guy, Patrick. He was, I started at LA Fitness. I moved to Winter Park like a year ago, I think, year and a half ago, and now I moved out of there. But when I went there, I started at LA Fitness, and this guy named Patrick, he was a salesman for LA Fitness, and you walk into the gym, and he's always there, always the front seat, and every single time I walked in there, without knowing my name, since the day I joined, he'd always just give me, what's up, man?
Yeah.
Every single day, without fail. Like, he never missed it, not once. Every single day, no matter how bad I felt, no matter how good I felt, he was always there.
There's a guy at the gym downtown where I go that does that every time too.
Yeah.
He's always just like, "What's up, man?"
It just made.
Don't know his name even yet, but he's just always,
I never knew his name. I had no clue for like 6 months, and then I started doing the LinkedIn thing, and I was like, "Dude, you know what? This guy makes my day every single day." I guarantee you, like, people would love to hear the story because it's so nice that someone random in your life like smiles at you, dude. It makes your day, So, like, some random encounter at like a gas station will like impact you in like a weird way, And I told him, dude, you make my day every single day. He's like, man, you just made my day, man. Thank you so much. He's like, I'm glad someone noticed it. And I was like, let's go.
That's awesome.
Super cool guy. And it's wild, I wouldn't have even thought about approaching him because, everyone's nervous. Everyone's nervous to talk to random people like that. I would never even have thought of it if I didn't have people who would have appreciated that story.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought of going the extra mile to take a picture with him if it wasn't for like a group of like 1,000 people on LinkedIn who like loved
that you thought might enjoy the story, get some value out of it.
Exactly. And I think that's another huge shock of LinkedIn is like you kind of have people depending on you now. So like the days where I don't feel like posting or like I can't think of anything to write, I have to think of something.
Yeah.
It's like I'm forced to, and it's in the best way possible, Like, I'm just like, oh, God, I really have no inspiration. Like I said earlier, I write all my posts on like a Sunday. For this week, I have had no inspiration to write at all. I even wrote about it on Monday, I think, or Friday. I was like, I have no inspiration to write at all, but I'm showing up even if I don't want to because that's what's going to separate me from the next person.
Yeah.
And, it's not to say that getting lazy is like, or not having the inspiration is bad. It's like, no, like a lot of people lose inspiration. It's fine. It's a process of life. But I think what separates a lot of people is that, hey, I'm going to still be here. I'm still going to do it,
Yeah.
And so when I have people who are...
You have to. I mean, that's... Yeah. If you don't, then you're going to let yourself get burned out, and like one miss is going to lead to the next, and you're just going to stop doing it. You got to always come back to it and keep doing it.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think consistency is really, really, really overlooked. I mean, a lot of the entrepreneur types still like hammered in, like, you have to be consistent. And I never believed it for the longest time, but staying consistent, man, even if you don't want to do it, even if it's like, oh, this sucks, it so will pay off. Like,
Yeah.
The fact that I was consistent, even when I was writing the stupidest posts, the worst posts that I look back now, because I'm vain, and I look at how my posts did back then, and like the types of stuff I was writing, I was like, wow, really? And it's only like 3 months ago, you know?
I do the same shit with my clips of the podcast. I'll look back at even just like the way I was editing them at the beginning, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I was like, what was I thinking?
Yeah, I put this out.
Yeah, and then I keep scrolling up, and I'm like, I realize how far down I've gone. I'm like, this has only been 3 months, man. I'm showing up here every single day. There hasn't been a day I've missed.
Feels good.
It's wild. It's wild. And when you see like, it's like a steady chart of like, okay, I had like 5 likes, 100 impressions. Like the next day, where I just like looked at someone else's stuff in my feed, 10 likes, 200, and then and then it snowballed really fast. And the coolest thing is like now I have people like you reaching out to me like, hey, let's do a podcast together. Let's do this whole thing. And now I get to spread my message that I think everyone should share their story on, you know, a way wider platform, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really important that, you know, you really just hit that post button or you connect to that person, you just go for it and you just stay consistent and you just do it. Because eventually it will pay off, you know.
I love that. Well, Manny, I have a couple questions that I kind of like to ask on every podcast. So we kind of talked about them off air a little bit, but the first one is if you could, and for you, this is a kind of unique and interesting thing because you've made these huge strides in a short amount of time. But I'm going to start with the kind of the starting point of getting into LinkedIn because I feel like that's been like the biggest kind of most transformative thing for you. If you could go back in time and kind of take the wisdom and knowledge that you've learned since you first got into LinkedIn and talk to a younger Manny as he was first getting into it, what are a couple things you would tell him to do differently?
Yeah. Good question, man. If I had to go back to when I first started this whole LinkedIn thing and had to change something or tell myself something, I would 1,000 times out of 1,000 tell myself to focus on other people. Focus on other people's successes and they will repay the favor. And it's not a transactional thing where, oh, like I'm supporting them, so now they have to support me. It's, you know, you're giving something for someone. You know, the feeling of giving is, as you age and as you get on, you know, social media platforms, you'll find that the feeling of giving is so much better than the feeling of receiving. And once you give a lot, you'll see that you do receive a lot too. Yeah. The more and more you give on a platform, whether it be in your posts, in connections, which I think is the most valuable, if you give and give and give to people, they will repay it back. Mm-hmm. So if I could focus on something, if I could tell myself something like 3 months ago, be like, hey, focus on other people first. Put them ahead of yourself. Connect to people who you look up to above all else. Never lose sight of that. Just always connect to people who are going to help you improve. And, you know, luckily enough for me, I did it pretty early on. Within like first 4 weeks, I really got into connecting with people. Mm-hmm. But I was mad at myself when my post didn't do well. I was mad when they I was like, dude, I really worked hard on this. Why didn't it do well? And it was, people just not being there. Yeah. But once I started giving in the comments, I started say, this is an amazing post. I love what you did, and give my real insight to it. And then they would hit me up. They would connect with me. I would connect with people they liked. I would just, this whole giant community started forming around me and me around others. I would be in other people's communities that's forming around them. If I had to go back and give myself any advice, it's 100% focus on people, because people are going to be there at every step of the journey, whether it be supporting your goals or, cheering you on when you finally give that TEDx speech. People are going to be there, man. And that's the biggest piece of advice I can give myself. I love that. Get out there and just connect with people, focus on helping people. Yeah, and they will help you back every time. That's awesome, man. And then the other question I have for you, so the show is called Profession Session, right? And I hadn't mentioned this yet, but I have this kind of thesis with the show that has kind of become my guiding light, if you want to call it that, which is that really anything can be a profession, right? Especially in the world we live in today, this digital world. You can make, I mentioned it earlier, you can make being the best shrimp breeder in the world a profession. Like anything can be a profession. So I like to ask this to everyone. What does it mean to you personally to be a professional? I love that. That's awesome. I really do think anything can be a profession if you really just put your mind to it. You could really make a life out of anything here, especially in the digital age. If you have something unique to share, you really can just do something with it. You can really make it into your life, and people will love it no matter how specific or weird you think it is. To me, what being a professional means is delivering more than what people expect from you. I think that's the biggest separator between what a professional is and what a professional really is. When I work with guys like David Lasowski, who is my video guy, he is unbelievable. He tells me we're going to do, a few videos, and the next day he says, these were amazing. I have 70 pieces of content for you. Here's what we're going to do. He's a professional,
Yeah.
When he works harder than I expected him to, way harder, without me asking, and he delivers on something that, I didn't even think was possible, he's a professional.
Because that's someone you're always going to go back to have them help you with that, and you're going to rave about it. You're talking about them right now. Like, you're going to rave about it. You're going to suggest them, and that's going to do wonders.
That's what separates, people who are just professionals from people who are really professional in what they do, I think, is their ability to deliver. If you deliver more than what people ask for, if you don't just do the bare minimum, people will love it. For me, there was days where I thought, you know what, I should start switching to 3 days a week posting instead of 2, But I'm not a professional if I do that. I'm a professional if I show up here every single day when I don't want to, and I make something happen, If I can make someone's day a little bit better by wasting like 20 minutes of my time just thinking about a post, if it makes someone's day better, I'm a professional, Delivering, even when, people are expecting something of you, if you go above and beyond and just do something extra, you're a professional.
That's good stuff, man. That's a new, unique kind of answer from anything I've ever gotten, and I love it. Now, is there anything else that we haven't covered yet that comes to mind that's something that you would like to leave the audience with?
Yeah, I mean, I to sum it all up, I've started from basically nothing. I grew up in a middle-class family in Miami, crazy city that was way too expensive for me. I hated it. I loved it and hated it at the same time. I moved away. I branched out and did something for myself in college and, made a name for myself. I graduated, tried to make my name for myself in, the corporate world and been doing pretty well there. But really, man, I took leaps all throughout my life, whether it was playing guitar, whether it was dropping out of guitar class, whether it was picking up the trombone, whether it was, making my own clothing brand. I've always been a fan of taking leaps. And the biggest leap I've taken in my life, for sure, has been LinkedIn. And it's the one I haven't gotten on board with yet. It's the one that's paid off the most, not even monetarily wise, but mentally. The fact that I'm helping people every day is just so, so cool. In 3 months, I've amassed 3,000 connections of people who I really, 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 really appreciate. Every single one of you who are listening, the best. Like, the fact that I'm able to help even one person with the thoughts that I have in my head is just crazy. And I think it's really, really wild. As far as, me, what I do now is I write a lot of posts on LinkedIn about my day, my experiences, my journey to giving a TED Talk, which has been my goal for as long as I can remember, since the first time I saw a TED Talk. And I create courses and I coach. So if you want to support me, I have a free course that you can download to start your connections. I think connecting is the most valuable part of LinkedIn, by and large. Your people are going to be the ones who are supporting you, and you supporting people are what's going to make you find your goals and reach them. That course is free. It's my top 5 cold DM templates for real connections. And
it'll be in the description if you're watching on YouTube, the show notes if you're listening on audio.
Yep. We've had 100 people who are, raving about the course, and this is only within 3 months of me just starting, and I can't thank you all enough for supporting me. I have 2 new courses that I'm working on now that are going to be out soon. I'm writing one on how to create better hooks. A lot of people have screenshotted my hooks and have shared them and been like, wow, I can't believe this was that good. So I feel like that's the next step for me. A lot of people are missing that piece of, how do I draw in more eyes to my profile? And I think a lot of it comes from hooks.
It does. It starts with the hook.
Yeah. And, that see more button, we just click in. I think that's a really, really valuable tool. Besides that, I'm also making my biggest course, which is a masterclass in LinkedIn, which I will be, hopefully, fingers crossed, done with by December. It's going to be everything that's in the hook course and the cold DM course, expanded on a little bit more, plus a lot of my tips and tricks for my success, how anyone else can capture success in any niche. And that's probably going to be out in December if I have the time. I'm working on it every weekend, and it's,
kind of just like a comprehensive picture of everything that served you well.
Yeah, and the real trick to it is why it's taken me so long is because it's going to be about any niche. It's not just, if you want to be good at writing or sharing a story, do this.
Yeah.
It's going to be for the shrimp breeder, for the pillowcase connoisseur, for the, alcohol sales representative.
The high-level best tactics.
Yeah, like any niche, here's how you capture, here's how you win, here's how you do it. So finding the way to apply it to everything is kind of where I'm at. And we're working on it. The hook course should be out pretty soon, and I would love it if you guys supported me. It'd be really cool. If you guys want to learn more about LinkedIn and want to get coached on how to dominate, a lot of what I'm writing in that masterclass I coach on. So you can DM me on LinkedIn / Manny Chambless, and we can talk and book me for a one-on-one coaching session where we can talk about your goals, see if I can help you, and see if we can help you change your life like LinkedIn has helped me change mine.
And we've been talking about LinkedIn this whole time. I'll make sure that you can find them on LinkedIn very easily in the description and show notes. Manny, thank you so much for being on. This has been awesome.
Of course, man.
I have learned a ton. I've got a few notes that I wrote down here myself that I'm going to be looking into and implementing myself, and I'm excited to put this out.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
By the time this comes out, the hook course might be out. Who knows? If it is, I'll put that in the description as well. But thanks again for being on. Really, really appreciated it.
Of course, man. This is my first podcast. I'm super happy. Man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this has been Profession Session. I've been your host, Brody Vinson. My guest has been Manny Chambless of the most kind of innovative LinkedIn tactics I've heard about recently, and a creator that you should be following. Stay tuned for future episodes of Profession Session. Until next time, we're tuning out. Thanks so much for tuning into Profession Session. I'm your host, Brody Vinson. Stay tuned for new episodes every week and short clips of deep dives into specific topics that I put out on different social media channels. We could be found on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, all major podcast platforms. You can find my guest in the details of this video or podcast. And if you happen to know a young standout business owner, professional, or entrepreneur that you think would be a good fit for Profession Session, DM me or get in contact with me anywhere and just let me know. And they could be the next to tell their story here. Until next time, again, this has been Profession Session. Stay focused, stay hustling, and stay networking.